Good evening. You're locked into another episode of the Red Sea podcast, and today brings us Transfer Tuesday. We discuss potential departures from Liverpool Football Club and also potential incomings in the January transfer window. Will Liverpool be active this window? We will wait and see. There's still a long way to go, and so far, no good because Liverpool haven't signed anybody. But we keep it moving. We'll get into all of that on the other side of this.
Tell the world. We are Liverpool, champions of England.
We've conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Turkey, we've won the fucking lot. Got Paisley and the Shankly, the fields of Anfield gold. We are unsupported. And we come from Liverpool.
Yes, guys. You're locked into another episode of Transfer Tuesday with me, Tiago's father, and our Southern Scouser here on the show. So, guys, it's been a strange week, isn't it? Postponements, lots of talk about more postponements, COVID talk.
Yeah.
But in the midst of that, Liverpool actually managed to put a team to the sword.
Finally.
And that game started off with a lot of lackluster, but we actually done it. A 3-0 win for the Reds at home against Brentford, which was absolutely fantastic. Fabinho getting on a score sheet.
Yeah.
Ox grabbing one as well. And Minamino grabbing one also. So it's been a good week for the Reds, but still no transfer activity, but lots of transfer links. So there is plenty to talk about. SS, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, no, I like you say, it's been a while since we could talk about a convincing Liverpool win. We seem to have been grinding them out recently and sneaking through by the skin of our teeth. But no, it was a great result. A little bit of a knock to Ox. Still waiting to find out the full extent of that injury. Elliott back in training, which is a massive boost, in terms of Transfer Tuesday. Kind of like a new signing, if you like, because he was a major part of the team at the beginning of the season. And, whereabouts would he be if he hadn't have got that injury? I think we may have seen, some really top performances from him. So no, I'm good. Definitely some names to mull over the next sort of 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, totally. And in the match in the Premier League at the moment, our title race competitors, so to speak, are 1-0 up against Brighton, which you wouldn't expect from this Chelsea team. I didn't see the goal. Was it a decent goal?
Yeah, it's a weird one. He's outside the area, little 1-2 with Kante. Kind of a speculative shot. No one expects him to shoot, especially the goalkeeper. Beats him at his near post. Should probably get there. Gets a hand to it, but it's kind of one of them where all the fans are kind of like, oh, has it gone in? It was sort of like
really?
Bounced on the floor just as it went in. But yeah, good finish to be fair. And
what from Kante?
Done, I think, in a Chelsea shirt.
what from Kante did you say?
Kante to Ziyech with a goal.
To Ziyech, okay. Brighton just on a counter-attack at the moment, but it fizzles out to nothing. Still 1-0 to Chelsea away from home at Brighton. But just quickly on this, I know it's Transfer Tuesday. I know we want to talk everything Liverpool, but our not so noisy neighbours, Agent Rafa goes in and does a fantastic job. They're languishing in the table. Everton are in the mud where they should be. And everything is okay in Liverpool City once more. But Graham Potter is a manager that's being linked with Everton quite profoundly.
Yeah.
He's come out today to pour fire on those links. Same as he did with the United link, same as he did with the Newcastle links. The question I'm posing, is Everton a step down from Brighton at this present moment?
I think the way that I've been looking at it, because I've been listening to a bit of TalkSport as well while I was at the gym, and they were kind of discussing it. And Graham Potter's got a good thing going at Brighton. They respect him. He respects them. If they came 17th, he would keep his job. That's kind of the security there. Yes. Not every single season they want progress, but if they had a shocker, I still think as long as they didn't go down, he'd stay. And the budget's not huge. They've not really bought anybody of any note. That it's 4 million on Lamptey and Alana on a free, wheeling and dealing. And he had to go out to, I think it was Sweden, was it Östersunds or something, where he started, Graham Potter, and kind of earned his name from there. I think he played Europa League against Arsenal. Everyone was like, oh, they've got an English manager, but
Yeah.
The thing is with Everton, what actually is Everton? What is the expectation? What is the aim here? Because money wise, they spend more than we do, and have done. They've spent £500 million under Moshiri.
Yeah.
And like you say, they've not really got a lot to show for it. An injury to Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, and they are a 16th place team. That is it. That their team is that level. So any manager that comes in for me, it is a bit of a poison chalice. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but if you come in, Rafa Benitez came in the summer. Someone that's loved at Liverpool. Budget was about 50p. They got Damari Gray on £1 million, Townsend on a loan, because they got so much problems, so much debt, so much financial fair play issues. I don't really know what they expected him to do with the injuries that he had. They basically, the money wise they've spent, they want to be fighting for top four. They want to be competing with Arsenal, United, West Ham, and Spurs for that fourth place. I think that's generally what they're after with the plans for the stadium that they've built. They're looking to become a top 6 club minimum, and potentially a top 4 club in a couple of years with clever recruitment. But there's been so much money wasted. So you've seen it before. Mark Hughes, great job at Blackburn on a budget, goes to Man City. Expectation is huge. Hasn't got the pull of the name. He has to get Santa Cruz from Blackburn for 20 odd mil, and it doesn't work. So I could see Potter, if he did go to Everton, in and out the door within 12 months and back to where he started again. So if I was Graham Potter, I think I would be more than happy at Brighton. 15th, anywhere from 17th to 9th, you're going to be pretty happy. And why risk your job until you're sure that you're going to go to a club that genuinely will give you time, genuinely will give you a decent budget to work with? Because if he comes in now, what's his budget in Jan? They've just sold their best left back for 25 mil and brought in someone on loan. So clearly there's still issues there financially. So I don't really see where they're going to go at the moment. They'll get their players back. They'll improve slightly. They're not going to get relegated. They're probably going to come in the bottom half. So Duncan Ferguson there till the end of the season. He did all right before, but he's definitely not a long-term aim. They've been linked with Mourinho as well today.
Yes, I saw that.
He's not going to come anywhere near them with no budget. And he's already dropped his levels for Spurs, in my opinion. Everton is a whole other ball game. I was quite surprised Ancelotti went there. It kind of felt like a bit of a waiting game. I've not got a job at the minute. I'll go to Everton while it's quiet, and when I get another big team come in, I'll leave. So no, it's not a step down in terms of where they should be, but this current moment, I'd say it is.
But do you think that so like a manager of Mourinho's stature, I think he would almost need the Everton job more than Everton would kind of need him. I do think that Mourinho is now in that phase of his career where he's not managing the top sides. He's now in managing the aspirational sides, the sides that want to be in and amongst it. And his know-how to manage at that level could potentially catapult them to that. I think we've seen that with the Spurs job. I think we're seeing that with the Roma job, because in Serie A, it's almost been a 2-horse race, Juve +1 for so many years. At the moment, it's kind of Inter +1 for the last 2-3 years. We're about to move into year 2, and I think that Inter will probably lift the title for the second year running. So Roma want a piece of that pie. Hence why they went and got Mourinho. Even so much so with the Real Madrid job. I think it was Barcelona had the run of it for so long that they wanted someone who was going to go in there and ruffle feathers and be destructive and just be a general bastard. And that's what Mourinho is. Mourinho is a bastard because that by his own admission. So they wanted that side of manager, and I think that's where his kind of skill set now lies in just upsetting and tipping the apple cart. So I don't think Everton is a step down for him. I think Everton would probably be the perfect role for him. And every single manager, I don't care who you are, you have aspirations of managing in the best league in the world. The Premier League is where it's at. If you're here in the Premier League, especially with Tuchel, Klopp, Guardiola, what's his name? Conte at Spurs. We've got 4 of the best managers in world football, or the best managers in world football now managing in the Premier League. I'm sure Mourinho would want a slice of that in order to go to the Bridge and just be a total shithouse and just play a block of 2 and stop Chelsea winning anything, or come to Anfield and just be a total shithouse. And do you know what I mean? That just reeks of him.
I think you're spot on, but I also think football has changed because he came into the Premier League, 2004, just won the Champions League with Porto, came into Chelsea as a European Cup winner and says he's the special one. He's got players at that club like Lampard and Terry. He brings players in like Makelele, Ballack, Drogba. These are born winners. These are top players that the way that you manage them is play well or fuck off. That's kind of how they are.
Yeah.
Football was not like that anymore. He goes into Spurs, the Amazon documentary was, it was. You're saying you guys are too nice. Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Son Heung-min, all good players in their own time, but are all too nicey. And if you give them any kind of Jose Mourinho treatment, it doesn't work. He went to Inter Milan. He had Marco Materazzi, literally Jose Mourinho as a player. That's basically it.
Just
shithousery. And he responds. That's why he was so successful at Inter Milan. He had Samuel Eto'o, just players that are absolute born winners, and they respond well to that kind of management. But we've seen it. He went to United. The players at Man United, Pogba, etc., Lingard, again, they're not going to respond to that kind of harsh mentality, and it didn't work. Yes, sometimes you get short-term success. People will put up with that kind of level of training day in, day out, that kind of relationship for a short period, and you might get a bit of success. But we've always seen with Mourinho, second season, not so bad. Third season, it falls to pieces. It did at Chelsea when he returned. It did at United. Anywhere he's been recently, he doesn't last at Madrid. You get a little bit of success, and then suddenly they all want him out. So, but it's one of them. I think Everton and Mourinho, like you say, they're probably on the same path and crossing at the stairs, aren't they? Mourinho's on his way down. Everton want to go up. It was a similar thing with Tottenham. Jose Mourinho at Chelsea would never have thought he would ever manage Spurs, but because he's kind of not got that much success lately, he had to take a step down. So would he drop down to Everton? I think potentially he would, but he would need a serious budget to agree to go anywhere near that club for me.
Well, I think Everton have got money. The owner isn't shy of dipping his hand in his pocket, Mashiri. They've also got Usmanov money as well. So they've got some real stakeholders in the club, which aren't afraid of dipping their hand in their pockets. I do think though, like you said, that style of management is now dead. It's extinct. Because players of this modern day and age, they need an arm put around them. Yeah. They need a little bit of love, a bit of TLC. Do you know what I mean? A bit of warming up. And this brings us nicely on to what I was going to say. Maybe this is why managers like Jurgen Klopp are so successful in the modern day game. Pep Guardiola in the modern day game. I remember watching Pep on the pitch. I can't remember which rival player he was talking to, but he was getting into him, saying, "You're better than you are. Why have you not?"
Wasn't it at Southampton?
Yeah. Why have you not torn us apart today?
Yeah.
Why have you not torn us apart today? And that is what players need at all levels. They need that. They need that kind of manager that's got all that kind of person that's going to turn around and say to them, like, "Look, it's about bringing the best out in you, and how we achieve the best in you is by doing this." Yeah. Right. Enough about Everton because they're shit.
We've got some good comments. We're getting to, like I said, they're going to need us nice into Transfer Tuesday. Ali wants Liverpool to get Nkunku. We're definitely going to get onto him. We've got Cameron in the building as well. Chelsea parking the bus at Brighton. Definitely still goals in this game for me.
Lamptey's tearing Alonso apart. He's got Alonso on toast, bro.
Yeah, he has. Has Alonso got a yellow card yet? He has, yeah.
It
was a matter of time.
Yeah, of course, because he's getting roasted. He's getting absolutely smoked.
Yeah. But Ali agrees. Everton in a mess. Maybe they get relegated and start again. I mean, Jesus Christ,
Could you imagine?
Could you imagine that? Like you say, Captain Salah as well. Not Everton could be that if they do get Jose Mourinho. And obviously we didn't do our AFCON last night because James couldn't make it. But Naby got a goal today. Even though I think they lost the game.
Kepa with an absolutely fantastic stop. Yeah, fantastic stop. Very, very good. Do you know what? Credit where credit's due. He stepped up since Mendy's been away.
He's done well. Like you say, another AFCON player.
Yeah, he's looked
Yeah.
very solid since Mendy's been away. Anyway,
And
sorry, I
Mendy-
stopped you mid-flight.
No, you're absolutely fine. I was just mentioning briefly about the AFCON. There's not been many goals. Senegal again 0-0 today. So Here's a goal. There we go.
Goal from Brighton. What
Chelsea
an
problems continue.
absolute blistering header.
There you go.
Blistering header. Kepa can't do anything about it. The ball's whipped in from the left-hand side on a corner, and it is met by the club captain. It's unreal.
Coming.
Mate, the timing of that header, the way he's met it, is an absolute bullet. It's an absolute bullet of a header.
I said there'd be more goals in this game.
We're just going to watch the replay again.
It was coming,
Ball comes in from the left-hand side. Kepa's position is not bad either. He drops
who's
back,
marking?
and he's
Right,
just
header.
ran off. He's ran off the back of Marcus Alonso.
Yeah,
Look at that. In fact, three of them. He's ghosted three of them.
Yeah,
Rudiger's
great
marking. Yeah, the block on Rudiger is good as well because then he can't attack the ball.
Very
Good.
Yeah, nothing Kepa could do with that.
Kepa can do nothing with that. Kepa can do nothing.
It's a
And
great
they're just
goal.
about to bring on Knockout as well to go. Was it Trossard? Sorry, Trossard. Knockout.
Trossard, yeah.
Trossard to go and run at him and cause absolutely havoc. But what a goal! The Brighton fans
Yeah.
go absolutely nuts, and that is the reason why we're keeping an eye on this result, guys, because this helps us.
Absolutely.
Chelsea losing is fantastic for just general shithousery, and also for our aspirations of potentially challenging City and also finishing second if need be in the Premier League. Right. We jump into Transfer Tuesday, and we've got a couple of targets to discuss today, and we've also got an out to discuss today. I want to get into the out first. Reason being, it's a big one.
It is.
Today, certain publications linking our very own Bobby Firmino with an exit from the club. I mean, where do we start with that? I mean, Bobby has been instrumental in the Jurgen Klopp era, a player which he brought in from Hoffenheim under Rodgers, and Rodgers was well documented in saying he didn't want to sign him. He didn't want to sign Bobby Firmino. And when he arrived at the club, he looked lost, playing out on the right wing, playing out on the left wing, playing his central positions. But Klopp was very, very vocal when he got here and said, oh my God, I can't believe that I've arrived at Liverpool and I have Bobby Firmino, because I wanted Bobby at Dortmund and was unable to get him. And what a player Bobby Firmino's turned into. Arguably reinvented the number 10 position in terms of playing false nine. When you think of false nine, you think of Bobby Firmino.
He has created his own position. He's done the Makelele, isn't he? He's made the Makelele the Firmino role. And, you know, it was such a match made in heaven with how Klopp wanted to play and Firmino being able to play it. A lot of people thought he was a Klopp signing. You know, when people say he was actually there before, a lot of people are like, don't quite remember that and think that he was one of Klopp's first players, first buys. But no, he's been brilliant. You know, he's been here since what, 2015, something around there. You know, we're now in 2022. You know, that's a long time ago now. He has been brilliant. You know, I look at some of his stats. He's never been a prolific goal scorer, but he has, you know, he has definitely had higher levels than he currently plays. I mean, he did have one fantastic season in 17-18 where he scored 27 goals, which is by far and away his best return since he's been at the club. But after that, it's 16, 12, 9, and now 7. Yes, there's a long way to go. He should be beating the 9 that he got last season. He's got 30 more games to hopefully do it in. But for me, you know, we had this discussion the other day, didn't we, where Mane, Salah, Firmino are all the same sort of age. They're all got 18 months left on their contract, and are all three 29-year-olds going to get four-year deals on, you know, 30, 40 grand a week more than they're currently on, if not more. Not really the FSG model. We saw it with Gini Wijnaldum. You know, Hendo signed a new deal, Fabinho. All these players signed new deals. Van Dijk, Alisson, Robertson, Trent, and Wijnaldum was the one to have his contract disintegrated and spread around the rest of the squad for their increases. So it's an interesting one because Barcelona have been linked with him, apparently have no money yet, spend 55 million on Ferran Torres. So, you know, they've lost Aguero. He's had to retire. So they are in need of a striker. They are in need of a reinvention because I don't really know what their philosophy is anymore. You know, they've got Martin Braithwaite up front, but he's definitely an improvement on him. But totally. It depends. What kind of money we're looking at, because we need to go out there and replace him. We sell to buy. So if we're going to be looking at a new striker, like you mentioned, how many more false nines are there out there? How many more players that play in that mold are there? And for me, there isn't really many. The only number 9s that are out there are more out and out goal scorers that can maybe support Salah and take a little bit of the weight off of him for the goal return. So if we are going to move him on, I think now is the time. Obviously, it's unlikely to go in January, but in the summer, year left on his deal, you either keep him for another year and lose him on a free, or you cash in now and put it towards a replacement that might be 5, 6, 7 years younger. So, the likes of, we're going to get onto Nkunku, Vlahovic, Martinez, Haaland. It depends how hard you want to go in the market. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to move Bobby on in the summer. He's been brilliant, but it's one of them. Do we just get every single last drop out of him? Next season he's not going to be any better than he is now. He's slowly declining. So do we get 30, 40 mil for him in the summer? Maybe less with only a year left on his deal and put it towards someone else. The only thing I don't want to do is to sell Firmino and just promote a youngster and then just say that's fine. Keep it as it is. If we are going to cash in on him, which I think is a good idea, only if we sign a replacement of better standard.
It's a difficult one. It's a very, very difficult one. We know what Bobby Firmino brings. When he plays, he's involved. It's not just goals. It's the general link-up play. He knits things together for that forward line. But I feel that we are in a same position as we are with Wijnaldum.
Yeah, I do.
I think his replacement is already at the club, which is Jota. We're not going to go into the window again for another forward player in terms of a central forward player. We already have that signing at the club. We brought that signing in a year ago.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing with Thiago. Thiago came in through the door before Wijnaldum left and assumed that position. Jota is absolutely setting the world on fire. Second highest goal scorer in the Premier League. So my gut feeling is that we don't need to dip into the window in that position. I've been very vocal before in where I view that forward line going. Some will agree, some will disagree. But if you look at a lot of the links and a lot of players we're being linked with over the course of the window, they are all right-sided forwards.
Yeah.
A player which we're going to get onto a little bit later on in this Transfer Tuesday, Jarrod Bowen, is a right-sided forward. Rafinha, who we've been linked with in multiple windows, probably 3 windows now, summer of last season, January of last season, summer, and now again this January, is a right-sided forward. So I feel that the natural thing to do would potentially to shuffle this a little bit. I think personally, Mo Salah moves into a central position or will play some games in the central striking position. I don't think it will be all the time, but I do see some games him starting in the central striking position. Because if you get that man closer to goal, he will score more goals. And you know what? You and I have been talking about this back and forth in the WhatsApp group on a number of occasions. And I do agree with some of the stuff that you've said. Don't try and fix what's not broken. Mo Salah coming from the right-hand side is the best force, the biggest, baddest force in world football. He is unreal. There isn't anybody in world football at the moment which gives you what Mo Salah gives you in terms of attack. But we have to evolve. And the only way of evolving is either going to market and spending a shit ton of money on a central striker, but then we're brought back down to earth with a thud and realize that we are owned by FSG, which in some ways is a bad thing. And in other ways isn't such a bad thing, because it has its pros and it also has a lot of cons as well. So I do see that being an option. A player like Jarrod Bowen isn't going to cost you what a Vlahovic might cost you, what a Martinez might cost you. Certainly what a Haaland isn't going to cost you. But what it would do, and even Rafinha, but what it would do is give us more attack, more options across that front four. It makes us more dynamic across that front four in terms of what we can offer. Now, let's get back to Bobby and we talk about the fee. I don't think it's one player which would look to move on. We've seen FSG do this before. Move on multiple players and then look to spend that money on one. If we look at the summer, we were talking about moving on Nat Phillips. We were talking about obviously letting Ginny go. There was a number of different players which we were talking about moving on. Wilson, Shaqiri. which then culminated in one signing, which was Konate, which was a fantastic signing. There is nothing wrong with the signing. He was absolutely stellar. It's what we needed, maybe 6 months too late, but it's what we needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think personally, we could see either Firmino or, dare I say it, we could see Mane moved on. One of those two. I don't know who it will be. The more likely candidate to me, based on the trajectory of the career and where they are at the moment, would be Bobby.
Okay.
Bobby moves on. And also, Origi's been linked with moves. Origi could leave at the same time as well, which then allows us to use that money. What are we going to get for Bobby? 30 M's, let's say we get for Bobby.
Yeah? With a year left, I think that's the best you can hope for.
Yeah, 30 M's for Bobby. The standard and quality of player, everything he's won in the game. You get 30 M's for Bobby, for argument's sake. You might get 15 for Origi. Let's be honest. Yeah. That gives you £45 million. £45 million gets you Jared Bowen. £45 million gets you Rafinha. But it does. It does. And unfortunately, with Jared Bowen, the one thing that he's got behind his name in asterisks is a fucking English fag. So it puts a tax on it. That's it. It puts a tax on it. English player tax is a very big thing. You pay premiums for English players, but what it does do, if we were to bring in a player like Jared Bowen, it solves a number of issues, such as the quota. It helps us with quota. Yeah. Number one. Number two. Again, we're going to get more into this. I'm not going to spoil it. Because we're going to talk about Jared Bowen in isolation. But I do see FSG doing something very similar to that, moving on 2 and bringing in 1.
Do you know, you make a good point, but if I put my FSG hat on, I'm looking at this and thinking, I'll probably just sign the contracts because it's cheaper than bringing in another player. I mean,
there's that too.
It's fair enough moving on Firmino and then saying, well, we've already got Jota, but we've needed Jota, Firmino, Mane, and Salah minimum this season. We've needed 4 top players. So to say Bobby goes out, Jota goes central, which he's pretty much been most of the season anyway, or Salah goes middle, and we're bringing a Bowen. For me, that's weaker than what we have now. That the 4 that we have now, yes, Mane and Firmino are.
Sorry to cut you. Big chance for Chelsea in the Brighton game. Lukaku goes very close. The goalkeeper's done very, very well. It's a run off the back. He looks like he's offside at the moment because of the arm and the body slightly offside, but the keeper comes out, makes himself big, and Lukaku ends up hitting the side netting. It is a corner for Chelsea at the moment. We're just going to stick with it just to see what happens. Keeper is very, very aggressive in his starting position. It looks like Azpilicueta is trying to block him. Ball comes in.
Close.
Brighton look like they've dealt with it. No, Chelsea still on the attack. And it's gone out for, is it a corner? I think it's another corner. Is it another corner? So Ziyech puts the ball back in for Azpilicueta to attack, but the corner kind of comes to nothing. Chelsea are on the attack and Brighton regroup. Right. Sorry, back to what you were saying. We'll come back to this if there is a goal.
Yeah, so I was just kind of saying that Mane, Salah, Jota, Firmino is better than Mane, Salah, Jota, Bowen. So yes, Mane and Firmino are on the decline, but I don't want to bring in a sideways player or someone that's got the potential to get to where Firmino already is. We'll get on more to Bowen in a minute, but the only way I let Bobby go out this club is if we bring in one of those stellar names, which I don't see happening. So I think the more likelihood is that Bobby signs a new deal. Do we bring in someone like a Bowen to add as a kind of, instead of Origi, to kind of be that 5th option potentially? But then, you look at Bowen doing very well at West Ham. They're going to want 60 mil. They're trying to become a top 4 club. Let's be fair. They're not going to be selling Rice or Bowen for anything less than 60 and 80 million. So I don't see Bowen, we'll get on more in a moment, to as a realistic target at the minute, potentially in the future. But for me,
I do.
It's a good comment from Captain Salah in there. Barca are only offering 17 mil. It's a fair point. I mean, it's a bit of an embarrassment, as if we're going to accept 17 million for our main, one of our main forefront players at the moment. It's silly.
No.
Again, like you say, we bought Chamberlain for 30 mil. He had a year left on his deal. I could see us trying to get that kind of money in for him in the summer. But as I say, we saw Wijnaldum run his contract all the way down. We saw Emre Can do something similar. We tend to sell players either for ridiculous fees or
nothing at all.
Well, nothing at all. We sell our star player Coutinho for absolute top dollar, and we get ridiculous fees for the likes of Brewster and Solanke, but we haven't really sold many first team players for decent money. You know, other than Coutinho, we kind of run the contracts down, bled everything we could out of them, give them new deals. We've had a very similar 11 for 3-4 years now. We've added one or two here and there. Like, you mentioned Konate was a decent signing, but all in all, other than that summer where we signed Fabinho, Keita, Alisson, Van Dijk, that kind of 12-month period, we've not done a lot of business. So
yeah, I
mean, something's got to change, isn't it? Something's got to give at some point.
Yeah, I mean, would you? So I wouldn't be uncomfortable with letting Firmino run down his contract. I would not be uncomfortable with that because there is talent there. You look at what Kate Gordon's producing when he's coming into the squad. There's no doubt that the kid has got talent. So there is options there for FSG in terms of what we could do and how we approach it. I don't so much buy into the fact that we have to bring in a stellar name if Bobby was to leave. And I think this brings us nicely on to Jarrod Bowen.
Yeah.
And you make some really, really good points there. West Ham are a team that are challenging. They want to be at the top table. They want to be in the upper echelons of the Premier League. David Moyes has re-galvanised them. And Bowen and Declan Rice, who has been courted by Chelsea for a number of years now, are instrumental to that, let alone Souček, let alone Antonio. And the business that they've done is very, very good. Now, what leads me to think that Jarrod Bowen could potentially be on the market is if you look at... Oh, Brighton nearly scored. If you look at the business that they've done in the window and you look at the players which they've brought in, cast your mind back. Jesse Lingard was there on a loan and was absolutely sensational on a loan. He was recalled by Manchester United. Manchester United have barely played him. Barely got in the squad. Now United are in transition and he hasn't made any real appearances for Rangnick. He's nowhere near the squad. So if I was Jesse Lingard, I'd be thinking, why in the fuck have I come back here when I was playing consistent football at West Ham, a team that's challenging for top 4, could potentially be in the Champions League next season? Jesse Lingard's contract runs out in the summer. So if you're West Ham, you could cash in on Jarrod Bowen for 50, 60 million pounds and then bring Jesse Lingard back with a massive signing on fee and say, there you go, mate. There's your opportunity. Go and play. Because Jesse can play out there.
Yeah.
He can play out there. Or they could rejig it. So I think that West Ham hold all the cards here. They really do.
I do. I think they would probably add Lingard and keep Bowen. If they come fourth, even if they come fifth, sixth European football, they've got a very small squad. Injuries affect West Ham heavily. So I think they need to add. I don't see them selling any of their main 11 players.
I agree with you. And in the right, what's the word? You would want to add. If you're West Ham, you would not want to sell Jarrod Bowen because let's get into the stats because stats wise, he's doing phenomenally well. So where are we? There you are. So if we look at his current stats at the moment, 22 matches played in the Premier League, 6 goals, 7 assists. That's fantastic.
That is good.
That is good. Absolutely fantastic. There's a comment in here as well. Paul Smith, big shout out to you, my man. Don't think Bowen is good enough and wouldn't fit our system. The stats suggest otherwise. I know that the signing isn't sexy. It doesn't. He's not Spanish, French, Portuguese. There isn't an accent on the side of his name. But god damn, this kid's doing the business. He's doing the business. So we cannot ignore that fact. I know that we want to get sexy signings in through the door. I know that we want to sit here and go, we've gone out and signed the world's best player in that position. But Liverpool Football Club for a number of years, even prior to the Klopp era, even prior to me even supporting Liverpool Football Club as a youngster, we've never really done it that way. Very rarely have we gone to market and brought the finished article. It's only in... Do you know what? I wouldn't even say Alisson Becker was the finished article when he came to us. Because if you remember correctly, we hammered 7 past him the season we signed him against Roma. I wouldn't even say that Virgil van Dijk was the finished article when we brought him. Fabinho wasn't the finished article when we brought him. Mo Salah not the finished article. Mane, Gini, Hendo, all of these players were not the finished article when we bought these players. Robertson definitely not. And Trent obviously coming out of the academy. It comes down to the fact that we have a world-class manager who is able to develop players to fulfill and reach their potential. Klopp is the X factor in all of this. Big shout out to you, Allier. Thiago, I agree. But we haven't signed a Thiago who's 20-something. We signed a Thiago who's 30-something. It's very, very different. We've not gone and signed prime Thiago. We've gone and signed Thiago who's in the twilight of his career. So I can't turn around and say, other than Thiago, and I will take that we've gone to market ever in my time as a Liverpool football fan and signed a player who is the finished article. This is why I feel that the Bowen signing makes sense to me. Obviously, there is other value and other options on the market. I'm not wedded to Bowen by any stretch of the imagination, but he does suit the mold. He's a Klopp-style signing. He can play wide right. He can play wide left as well. He can occupy a defence, which was showing at West Ham because the stats say otherwise.
I mean, it's an interesting point, and I agree with Paul. Bowen's a good player, but does he fit our system? And for me, I don't think he does. You know, West Ham play at a 4-2-3-1 with a number 10. So it's very different to how Liverpool play. We play with the one CDM, the two working hard midfielders, and the front three of inside forwards. And Bowen is not an inside forward. He's definitely scoring goals from that right hand side, but he plays on the side that he kicks with. You know, he's not cutting in on his left foot, for example. So it is a very different way to how we play. You know, we have Mane and Salah that cut in on their strong side. We have the number 9 that tries to make space for them or gets on the end of the fullbacks' crosses. So I do think Bowen is having a good season at West Ham. You mentioned 6 goals, 7 assists in 22 games is fantastic, but you know that's at West Ham that play in a certain style. He's one of their main players. A lot of their attacks go through him.
Chelsea have got a free kick at the moment on the edge of Brighton's box, so we're just going to stick with this. Marcus Alonso to take it, hits the wall. Chelsea still on the attack. Lofted ball in. Brighton clear their lines. Brighton potentially on a counter attack. No, ball back to Chelsea. Out wide to Werner. Werner getting into the box. Ball back across. Azpilicueta back out on the box. Chelsea moving the ball. Marcus Alonso puts the ball in. It's deflected. No, Brighton still failed to clear their lines. Kovacic on the ball. Brighton get it out for a throw and pressure still on Brighton. Sorry, SS, we'll come back to you, my man. That looked a bit exciting, that did.
All good, mate. No, I was just going to say, in terms of the left-hand side, they've got Vlasic, so most of their attacks seem to be focused down the right. You know, you've got Antonio naturally pulls that way anyway. Lanzini, Fornals all tend to go that side on their stronger options. So would that Bowen form translate to a Liverpool side? And the example that I use is the Stuart Downing. Again.
Oh, come on. No, look,
bear with me.
I can't let you do it, SS, because Stuart Downing was managed by an out-and-out Liverpool legend in Kenny Dalglish. What he was trying to achieve was that Toshack, Kenny kind of style where Liverpool played with them blistering, paceful wingers and balls were going into the box. This is why we signed Andy Carroll, because he wanted a little large combination with Carroll and Suarez and balls going into the box. And no, it didn't. It was fucking shit. I will say that. But Stuart Downing and Jarrod Bowen cannot be compared. Bowen's goal scoring record this season is clear of what Downing ever put together in any fucking shirt.
It's not, because Stuart Downing was bought from was it West Ham or Aston Villa? Can't remember which one it was.
Middlesbrough.
Don't know. I think he ended up there.
Was it Villa?
I think we bought him from
Villa.
One of the other two.
Villa.
But in the 10-11 season, the season before Stuart Downing joined Liverpool, 38 league games, 7 goals, 7 assists, almost identical to what Bowen currently has. Yes, there's still many games to go, and Bowen should eclipse that. But Stuart Downing was a left footer playing on the left-hand side in a Middlesbrough team that played in that way. He came to Liverpool the first season Liverpool, 36 games, 0 goals, 0 assists. So I'm not saying Bowen is Downing at all, but I'm just saying the expectation goes up a hell of a lot. You can be one of those players. You're a big fish in a small pond at West Ham. If you get 10 goals a season, you're absolutely smashing it. We're looking at people like Sadio Mane. If Sadio Mane scores 10 goals this season in the Premier League, that's not good enough, is it? That's not acceptable.
No, I agree.
Can Bowen go and score 20 goals a season in a Liverpool team in the Premier League? For me, it's a big fat no.
Look, I like your comparison. I understand where you're going with this, but you're selling. I'm just not buying. Only reason why is I feel that Bowen has already showed he can make that step. If you look at his form for Hull, his trajectory has only been up. He's not dipped.
Oh, definitely.
He's only got better. So that would indicate to me that if he does end up in a Liverpool shirt, the only way is up. So I honestly just feel that we're hung up on the fact that it's Jarrod Bowen and that it just isn't sexy. Now, my choice personally, if you gave it to me, would be Rafinha. Of course it would be Rafinha. Of course it would. But Bowen's stats are better than Rafinha's at the moment. In terms of what he's doing game for game, yeah, Bowen is contributing more. Rafinha's fighting at the bottom end of the Premier League, yeah. Bowen's challenging for top 4. So let's not get hung up on name.
Not Rafinha's fault though. Like, he's at an absolute shambolic side that ships 7 goals a game.
No, but be the difference. Be the difference. If you're
I think he is. I think that's harsh. He scored 8 goals this season in 18 games. I think that's fantastic.
No, you're not the difference, because at the moment your side's languishing in the bottom half of the table. When Leeds were firing all cylinders, the Rafinha links wouldn't die. It wouldn't go anywhere. It wouldn't. But at the moment, it's all died down because they're languishing at the bottom of the table. I just feel that if we was to go out, and yes, Rafinha would be my preference.
Style, doesn't he?
Yeah, would be my preference because he's a fantastic ball carrier. The ability, the skills, the attributes. Cuts inside, can cross, can do. He's very, very good. And again, I think that Klopp would take his game to a whole nother level.
I do.
But he's not. We're sat here talking that he's clear of Jarrod Bowen. He's not. I would say the two of them are on identical points in terms of their careers.
Yeah.
But the only thing that edges Jarrod Bowen for me is he's now 2 moves in terms of English football. Played at Hull, appeared for 1 season in the Premier League after they got relegated, then comes back and plays at West Ham, and arguably has gone from strength to strength. That to me is the only edge that I can see, or the advantage that Jarrod Bowen has over Rafinha in terms of the experience in the Premier League. Whether it counts for anything, it might not, because we've had players that transition from abroad into the Premier League totally fine. So it might not count for a damn thing. But if I'm looking at it as Liverpool, I'm thinking, right, Bowen serves the English quota, fantastic. And he's already played English football. So Brighton on the attack, and it breaks down.
I mean, my only response to that would be, in terms of, like you say, Premier League experience. If you look at all seasons in the Premier League from these two, Jarrod Bowen has played 80 Premier League matches and scored 15 goals. Rafinha has played 48 Premier League matches and scored 14 goals. So he's a lot more prolific than Bowen is since they've both been in the Prem. West Ham have had their troubles. Leeds had a good season and then have now had their troubles. So I agree. I think they are both on that same trajectory. However, I feel Rafinha's ceiling is higher than Bowen's.
Potentially. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think it would be as much of a downgrade as we're looking at it if we went and got Jarrod Bowen. Both work hard along that wing. Defensively, both very, very good. We'll hunt that ball down. We'll chase that ball back. I wasn't so aware of Rafinha's defensive attributes until I actually spent a lot of time watching him. He reminds me of when Salah first come to the Prem. He would just run after you. If he lost the ball, he's running after you. And Rafinha does exactly that. Rafinha is well versed in terms of pressing because he plays for, in a Bielsa team. You've got to be fit. You've got to be athletic to be able to hunt the ball.
I think it's an easy transition from the Leeds style into Liverpool than it is West Ham.
Yes, I totally understand that, but I just feel that there's a lot of mud and discredit being thrown at Bowen when Bowen has proved that his trajectory is only upwards. Right, on to the next target, and it's 88 minutes played between Brighton and Chelsea. Chelsea currently have a corner, and it is still 1-1.
Is there a winner?
I bloody well hope not. To be honest, I would love to see this stay 1-1 and us go out against Palace and open up the gap between us and Chelsea. So, refs currently talking to Azpilicueta. I think Rudiger's had a bit of ill discipline. Fucking shock.
I like this comment from Sean. Are you getting a cut of the Bowen fee? That's brilliant.
No, look, I just what I don't look. I just want to address that, and I'm not sat here, trying to big up Jarrod Bowen. That's not what it is. But I'm sick and tired of football fans, not Liverpool fans, because this isn't necessarily directed solely at Liverpool fans. But I'm sick and tired of football fans in 2022 getting hung up on names. Forget the name. The name means nothing. The name means absolutely sweet FA. All it comes down to is profile of player. Does that player have the attributes to fit the profile of what this club is looking for? Doesn't matter about the name. Is he going to come out and give this club everything in terms of his performances on a regular basis? The name is irrelevant to me. And all football fans do this. We get hung up on whether it's a sexy signing or not. We're talking about players from Europe constantly. Oh, let's go and get him. We've had Diaz, we've had Nkunku, who we're going to talk about next. Yeah. We've had other names thrown at us over the period of time we've been doing these Transfer Tuesdays, but it doesn't matter. Like, look, you know what? Big shout out to you, sir. This man got so much dirt thrown at him. He's not good enough. He's not good enough. Where did we even sign him from? He's not good enough. He's not good enough. He's come in and he has pushed Andy Robertson. He's made Andy Robertson better. Definitely. He's put Andy Robertson back on his toes. 100%. Because if we sit here by our own admissions, Andy Robertson was not playing at the same level that he was playing at, and look, I'll be very clear, only by his own lofty standards, because Chilwell's nowhere fucking near and Shaw is nowhere fucking near. Yeah. But Andy Robertson had a little drop, whether it's a drop in form, whether it was a drop in energy levels because he was tired, whatever it was. But since Tsimikas has come into this squad and given him sustained competition, we have got back the Andy Robertson, which we know and love, because that man has come in and done his job.
No, I agree. I mean, like you say, just to finish off on Bowen versus Raphinha, I think you made a good point about the England flag. And even though that can be a good thing in terms of home quota and et cetera, and, you need English players in a Premier League team to win the title, absolutely. But that adds that tax that adds, if West Ham gets £60 million for Bowen, can they genuinely go out and get someone for £60 million, one player? I don't think they can. I think that becomes 20 million here, 15 million here, take a risk on a £20 million here. And we've seen what happens when Spurs sell Bale, the infamous Magnificent Seven, or not so much. It dwindles into nothing. So I genuinely think that West Ham would ask for north of 60 million. I think it might be touching the 70s, which is outrageous for a player of Bowen's level. I genuinely think Leeds would cash in. They'd
price him out of a move, wouldn't they?
I think they would. I think Raphinha would be available for between 40 to 50 mil. If Leeds,
depending on where Leeds finish,
if they finish 16th, 15th, which looks pretty likely, I think they're going to struggle to hold on to him. They've had a real struggle this season with their squad. They've had to play
and
a lot.
Also, if the manager stays as well. Because there's talk of Bielsa leaving in the summer as well.
Like you said, there's always links with him going away. They've had to play 17, 18-year-olds at times this season. So do they cash in on a 50 million Raphinha and think, do you know what? Let's improve the overall team at the minute, because that's where we need to be. Otherwise, you could get, the old second season, third season syndrome, where it's been good, it's been great, and all of a sudden you're fighting relegation, because they've definitely fallen off from last season. They've been missing some key players at certain times. But I think Raphinha is better. I think he would be cheaper. I think he'd be more easier to pry away from Leeds. So we'll leave that one there. But I will watch that one with great interest over the summer for sure.
Totally. Chelsea on the counter attack. And Brighton do well as well. Guys, there's only 1 minute left of this game at the moment, and Brighton are defending with their lives. It's a Chelsea corner. We're going to stick with the Chelsea game whilst the corner comes in, because this game also has implications for us as well. Absolutely. We can potentially open up a gap, an even bigger gap on Chelsea if we win our games in hand, because Chelsea are currently drawing. Ball comes in from Alonso and it's poor, doesn't even beat the first man. The Brighton player gets rid of it. Anywhere it goes, out for a throw-in. Let's stick
full time.
Let's stick. Is it full time? Is it?
Yeah, full time 1-1.
Oh, there you go. Full time 1-1.
So that leaves Chelsea
resolute defending.
That leaves Chelsea 1 point behind Liverpool, having played 2 games more.
There you go.
And 9 worse off in the goal difference department. So if we manage to beat Palace and we've got Leeds in the game in hand, that gives us a pretty healthy 7-point lead over Chelsea.
It does indeed.
But we've got to go and do our own job first.
Exactly. So we're not gonna bring it home and hosed
No.
right now. We know what Liverpool can be like. So
That's right.
sticking with forward players and sticking with wingers, Christopher Nkunku.
Yeah.
Again, another player with some impressive stats. Currently playing at our feeder club.
Feeder company, more like now.
Yeah, currently playing at our feeder club, the club which we've got on a tap.
Yeah.
We turned off the tap with Southampton
We did.
because we bled them dry, and now we've switched to RB Incorporated,
Yes.
so to speak. So, what do we know about Christopher Nkunku? Amazing player. What we're seeing in terms of stats this year alone, 90 matches played, 9 goals, 7 assists. So he's contributing at the very, very highest level. One thing that SS and I were very, very impressed by was his Champions League goal returns. Played all the games in the group stages and finished with 7 goals. That's over a goal a game.
Yeah.
He's 24 years of age, French international, currently playing at RB Leipzig at the moment, and he was previously of Paris Saint-Germain.
Yes.
So he's a player which does suit the profile, which could potentially interest Liverpool Football Club. SS, take it away from me, bro.
Definitely. I mean, like you say, he started his career at PSG, 18-19 season. You know, he played 22 games, which wasn't bad. But, you know, when they start bringing in the likes of Mbappe, of Neymar, and now of Messi, I think he made the right call, you know, to go away, find some football and become his own man and, you know, try and find a kind of level where he could play week in, week out. He went to Leipzig straight away. You know, he's playing 32 games, 28 games. And, you know, he's got 5 goals in his first season, 6 in his second. He's currently on 8 in 18, which is his best return so far by quite a distance. As you mentioned, 7 goals in 6 Champions League games. So 16 in 26 so far this season. So, again, yes, he's having a good season, but he's not got too much history of proven goal scorers. So it depends what we want to bring him in for. Could he be transformed into a false 9 to replace Firmino? Quite possibly he could be, because he has played in the 10 before. You know, Leipzig, Germany, you know, Klopp, it all kind of links together. Definitely something that could fit the profile. Can also play wide, so it gives you that option of rotation. You mentioned, you know, you want fluidity in that front three. He could come off the left, off the right. You move Salah into the middle. Something that we used to see when those three were a bit younger. We used to see Mane, Salah, and Firmino kind of move around that front three. And
rotational change in the game.
We've not really seen for the last couple of seasons. They very much stuck to the left, middle, and right. You know, they don't very much, you know, swap about as much as they used to. So I think Nkunku would be a good signing. You know, we've had Mane, we've had Keita, we've had Minamino from the Red Bull school of football. So again, another Konate as well. Sorry, so you know, again, another one that comes along and fits that bill. So he's not quite broken into the French first team yet. He's under 21s at the minute. So obviously now he's, like you say, now he's 24. He's unlikely to play for the under 21s again. So he's waiting on his first France call up. But a good player, decent player. How much would he cost? I think similar to Rafinha, the 40 kind of £1 million, £50 million mark, I think would be, you know, the highest that we would go for someone like that. But is he that level of player that we need to go to that next level? Because it's fair enough, let's replace Firmino with Nkunku. But at the moment, we're miles behind Manchester City in terms of winning the Premier League. Does Nkunku for Firmino, Nkunku for Origi, does that bridge the gap? For me, it doesn't quite. I think he'd be a good addition, but I would need him and another to come in that front forward line. I think Nkunku upgrade on Origi, yes. A like for Firmino that's 6 years younger, yes. Does he bridge that gap and get us an extra 10, 15 points a season? I'm not sure.
I think the challenge that you've got, and I keep saying to this, is where does the value lie in the market? We look at our ownership group and what we do and how we go to market. That forward line hasn't changed for the last 6 years because we've been clever with how we've gone to market. We were very, very lucky with Firmino. Very lucky with Firmino because we didn't know we had that kind of player in him. Nobody knew that he was capable of what he's doing now, apart from Klopp. Klopp obviously had some kind of inside track and the coaches had some inside track, but we never saw that similar form from him at Hoffenheim. You know, he was their talisman in some ways, but he wasn't doing what he's doing now. So he's only got better. So you'd say, again, similar kind of sign and trajectory's only being up. We look at Mane. Mane showed glimpses of it at Southampton, but I don't want to hear anyone tell me that when we saw the fee flash up of £36 million for Sadio Mane, everybody spat their juice out that's in their mouth and said, "You fucking what?" Let's be very honest. £36 million. We all stood here and went, "Are you taking the fucking piss?" Yeah, but he's been worth every single penny of that.
Yeah,
right down from his opening goal against Arsenal, where he ran that Arsenal defense ragged and smashed that top corner. I was there that game. Unreal run, unfucking real. Yeah, right to the goal in the dying seconds against Aston Villa, which kept us on course for our maiden Premier League triumph. You know, right from his contributions in the Champions League final against Madrid when Salah was sent off. This man personifies everything that is Liverpool Football Club in terms of hard work, grit, and determination. So I feel that Nkunku would be a fantastic signing if we was to go there, solely because, and again, it seems that we are over reliant on the Jurgen Klopp factor, but it is a huge factor in terms of when we go to market and sign these players. Do I feel that FSG can continue to do this? No, I don't, because Klopp isn't going to be here forever. We're not going to be able to rely on Klopp's expertise in terms of developing young talent and bringing them up to be some of the best in the game. Mo Salah is one of the best in the game. Bobby Firmino, don't care what anyone says, is the best in the game at his job, in his position. He's the best at what he does. There is nobody else better. Many teams have tried to replicate what Bobby does, and they cannot do it because there is only one Bobby Firmino.
Yeah, that's right.
Mane has been the best in his position for a number of years. Again, there's only one Sadio Mane, so we can only ever judge these players by their own lofty standards.
Yeah.
But like I said, the key factor in that, the key cog in that sort of chain, the key component in that engine that is Liverpool Football Club is Jurgen Klopp. So if a player like Nkunku comes in, is there enough time left in the Klopp project to develop him to be world class? Is the ceiling there? Is the trajectory there from that player to develop him to be world class? I'm not so sure. So again, it all rests with what FSG are going to do, because there's areas of the pitch which need surgery. It needs attention. The midfield being one. It needs urgent attention.
It does. I think, you need to look at it. Are we trying to improve the 11 or are we trying to improve the squad? So I think for me, Nkunku doesn't improve the 11 currently. I think he's a good addition and a younger version of some of the players that we have. He can play in multiple positions. He'd be a good addition to make a front four, a front five, because Man City have a front 17. We need to have more players in those positions. We need to have more options. We can't just have 4 players. 2 go to AFCON. We've got 2 forward players. It's pathetic. We're Liverpool FC. Mane and Salah are going to get injuries. They're going to get suspensions. Firmino, Jota, they're going to get knocks. They're going to go on international duty. You can't win you can't win the Premier League with 4 attackers against a team that has 9. All right, they haven't got a recognised striker, but they've got players that can turn up. De Bruyne can turn up. Foden can turn up.
Do you almost think, though? No, I agree. I agree with everything that you said. But do you almost think that Manchester City are the anomaly in this? Because we're witnessing the demise of Chelsea in front of our fucking eyes.
True.
Everybody went into this season going, Chelsea have the best balanced squad. They've just won the Champions League.
Yeah.
If Tuchel wins the Premier League next season, he eclipses what Jurgen Klopp's done.
Yeah.
Tuchel is far superior as a manager to Jurgen Klopp. Everybody's saying it's master versus apprentice, but the apprentice is now overtaken the master. I've got quote upon fucking quote from Chelsea fans on the Twitter timeline talking total and utter fucking shit about how Chelsea were going to have this fantastic season and that they'd be basking in glory at the end of the year, toppling Klopp's achievements, toppling Manchester City as the league winners. The difference is no club in the Premier League, let alone the world, has the balance that Manchester City have. I have to turn around and say here, the reason why we talk about it so much, and let's be very clear, it's fucking envious. It's envious. It is. I can't sit here and say I don't envy it. I'd be lying if I did. For a team like Manchester City to go into any league campaign with no recognised striker and still be clear of the Premier League, that's a testament to what they've done. It's a testament. So I just feel, and do you know what? Money is a factor, but it's not all money. Because if you look at the signings that they've made, De Bruyne wasn't a household name when they signed him. He flopped at Chelsea and had to go to Wolfsburg to forge anything. You look at Raheem Sterling, again, wasn't a household name when they signed him. Came off the back of some decent performances at Liverpool Football Club, arguably finishing second in the Premier League, but wasn't a household name when they signed him. Gundogan wasn't really a household name when they signed him. You know, Emerick Laporte, not another one. Who's the lad that's Diaz at the back? Wasn't a household name when they signed him. The goalkeeper was a fucking no one. No one knew about Edison. But when he comes into the Premier League, we're seeing him hit 30, 40-yard balls, and we're going, fucking hell, where the hell did he come from? So
no, I agree. I think
City haven't done nothing spectacular. They've just been clever.
But like you say, they are the anomaly, but they are also in our league. And that's
of course.
We have to topple them. And you know, I think Nkunku improves our squad. He gives us another option when players are out of form or injured or missing. Definitely is an improvement, but does he bridge the gap between what we have now and what Manchester City have at this moment in time? I don't think they do. You look at the summer, say we sign Nkunku and Man City sign Haaland, we're then even further behind than we are now. So that's the difficulty for me. You mentioned Man City are a one-off anomaly, different to anybody else in the world. But if you accept that that's the fact, we don't win another league title for another 5 years because they just keep evolving. So
I agree.
At some point, we have to say, yeah, Nkunku, add him in as a fifth option. But if we're going to replace someone in the 11, we have to go out and spend some serious money to catch Man City.
I agree. I don't necessarily think it's transfer fee that we have to go out and spend huge money. It's wages. We have to go to market and say to someone, right, you're going to play 20 games this season, but we're going to pay you £250,000 for the privilege. Please come and sign the contract. Because that's what Manchester City do. You're going to play 20 games this season, but we're going to reward you handsomely for it, and you're going to add trophies to your CV. Do you want to sign for us, or do you want to go and play for Manchester United, where you're going to play every single game, but you're going to win fuck all? Do you know what I mean? Because that's really what it boils down to.
You do have to find those players that want to make that next step. And like you say, they have been clever. Sometimes it doesn't work. You bring in a Leroy Sané, works for a little while, and he thinks, you know what, I want to play every week. I'm off.
Yeah, Ferran Torres being the most recent.
Exactly.
Being the most recent young player.
They almost push it to the limit. They bring in Raheem Sterling. They play him. They drop him for a season. And then just as he's like, Pep, if you don't start playing me, I'm going to leave. He puts him back in and he picks up his form. Same with John Stones. Didn't play for ages, a whole season out the team. You pay £50 million for me. I don't play. All right, here you go. We're going to put you in now. And they went on a great run with Diaz. They didn't concede a goal for about 13
Now he's out again.
And now he's out again. So it's very, very clever what they do. You've got to find these niche players that want to move on, maybe giving up 50, 60, 70% of what they play at their current team to come and play for Man City. Some are happy with the rotation. Some are a short-term thing. So like you say, in order to catch Manchester City, one-on-one, FA Cup, Champions League, 11 versus 11, we've probably had their number apart from the odd occasion. But in a Premier League season with 38 matches, that's where we fall away. And like you say, that's what needs to change. If we're going to match Manchester City over 38 games, I'm in an iron about giving one star player, the best player in the world, 350 grand a week. And we're like, well, we're not sure. This should have been done months ago. And the reason it isn't is because we're just like, oh, it's a little bit. If we give it to him, we have to give it to this guy, and then
it's done, innit? It's got to be done. Listen.
Confident than me.
I know FSG have got their flaws, and they can be fucking idiots sometimes, but they can't fuck this up. You cannot. Look. Famous last words, but you cannot possibly fuck this up, because if you do fuck this up, believe their days it would be I don't want to be on YouTube inciting violence, but let's be honest, everybody would go fucking nuts. There's no part of me that fathoms or sees a world where Mo Salah walks out of Liverpool Football Club. I don't see it. It cannot happen. It cannot.
July 2023, mate, is the date. If he doesn't sign, that's exactly what happens.
Oh, could you actually imagine? Could you actually?
That's what we're saying. You know, we need to be getting down our best players in the world in our team now and adding to it. We're genuinely in the point where we're like, do we give him that contract, or do we actually go back?
But we discussed this in the Transfer Tuesday before, and do you know what? We're over time, but fuck it, let's keep going because big shout out to you guys, the viewers, because this is the point. Yeah. We discussed this with Chris from Red Men TV, and Pajak made a very, very good point. Somewhere, and I said it as well. Somewhere, someone at Liverpool Football Club has got their calculator out and gone, John. And Julian and Michael, I know you're departing, but Michael, you should be privy to these conversations too. And Jurgen, if you want to get involved, please do. If we renew this man's contract now, it's going to cost you XYZ amount of hundreds of thousands of pounds or millions of pounds on your wage bill versus the signing on fee versus the revenue versus the this and that, so on and so forth. I think we delay this for 6 months, because if we delay this for 6 months, it means you don't have to pay him this. And someone's gone, yeah, makes sense. You're so clever. Fantastic. Well done, you. Meanwhile, all of us guys here are in total panic delirium going, oh my God, if they don't do this, we're going to go freaking nuts. We're making podcasts about it. The media's having a field day. Mo Salah's coming out giving interviews saying, well, I've told the club what they need to do. And all of this. It is all part of the pantomime. It has to be, because I seriously, and I'm being very serious, I cannot envisage a world where we let the best player in world football
leave for free.
Forget the Mbappes, forget the Haalands, forget the Neymars, forget the Lewandowskis. They're not even fucking close. Let's be honest. At this present moment, here, today, and now, Mohamed Salah is the best men's player in world football. We don't need trophies. We don't need Ballon d'Ors. We don't need FIFA Men's Player of the Years. These rigged up freaking trophies to say it. He is the best player in world football. So if FSG, whatever silly game they're playing, it better fucking come off. Because if it doesn't, there's going to be some issues. Yeah, because I'm sorry, you will lose the Liverpool fan base over that.
But that's the thing, isn't it? If they spoke to him and said, you know what, Mo, everything you said that you want, you can have in the summer. Does he need to be putting out these comments of, I've told them what they want? The only reason he's dangling that down is because he's not been offered anything. He's not been told anything's happening yet.
I agree. I don't think he has been told a damn thing, but that's very much FSG. They're all very cloak and dagger, shadows in the night. They conduct their business very, very aloof. So I don't think he has been told anything, because maybe it keeps him hungry. Maybe it keeps him hungry.
Like the Henderson thing on deadline day. Let's release the contract news.
Don't sign a fucking player.
So in the summer, we don't sign anybody, but we re-sign Mo Salah, and that's the deal of the summer.
Oh, God. As I stand here right now, that's enough for me, because we need to fucking do something. Anyway, let's jog it on slightly to our last player of the day. Eduardo Camavinga. Now, this is a very, very tentative link, but I thought I would chuck it in there because it's a story that isn't going away. Those of you that remember, we were linked with Camavinga season before last, and ultimately he opted to go to Real Madrid. Story has emerged in the papers today that Camavinga is unhappy with the current state of play at Real Madrid. Sources close to the player will suggest that he's unhappy with the playing time that he's currently having at Real Madrid, and that there is a rift between Camavinga and the current manager in Carlo Ancelotti. Now, Carlo Ancelotti didn't sign him. He was signed under the Zidane regime. Okay, so often when a new manager comes into the team, you do get that little bit of a, oh, he's not for me, and oh, do I keep him, and he's not the one that I chose. And Real Madrid have been wedded to the Casemiro, Kroos, and Modric midfield for a number of years. The holy trinity of midfield that's been so successful. That midfield gave them the Decima. That midfield tore us apart in that Champions League final. That midfield tore us apart last year in the Champions League as well. So that midfield has been very, very successful, lifting La Liga titles, Champions League, Club World Cups. So I can understand. And also that midfield, he put that, in fact, Ancelotti put that midfield together. Modric was signed. First time round. Modric was signed with Ancelotti there. And I think Cruyff was signed. No, was Cruyff and Mourinho signing? Or was Cruyff and Mourinho signing? One of the two. Anyway, I believe that he put that, my gut is that he put that midfield together. So I can understand why there is some allegiance to those players. But Camavinga is a sensational talent. He's only 19 years of age. Liverpool were apparently linked with a £46 million signing. And this is all being pushed by his agent, and the two clubs have somewhat distanced themselves. Is there any legs on this? Because he can play a number of positions in the midfield as well.
Yeah, for me, I think, he's a 19-year-old. He's played 20 games halfway through the season for Real Madrid in his first season there. He's going to be buying his time. You don't go into, one of the biggest clubs in world football, if not the biggest, up there with us, and go straight into the team as a 19-year-old, because like you said, that midfield is so successful. And, when you're a new manager at Chelsea, at Real Madrid, you need instant success. You don't get very long at these clubs. So Ancelotti's not going to start chucking in a 19-year-old from the start. He's gone back to the Holy Trinity. This is what's been successful here. These are the players I know. If I start playing Camavinga and we have a couple of draws with a couple of, Las Palmas and Tenerife, I'm going to be in trouble already. So
the knives are going to be out.
The knives are going to be out, and Madrid are, exactly the same.
They're like that.
They are like that. Probably even worse.
That.
There was it Del Bosque won the Champions League but didn't win the Liga, so he was out. Sorry, mate. The expectation is the league. You didn't do it. You're done.
Yeah.
So, Modric is 36, Kroos is 32, Casemiro is 29. So realistically, Camavinga's looking at that Modric's position on the right-hand side of the three midfielders and thinking, that's me in a couple of years. So, you're at Madrid. They've already invested quite heavily in someone of your age. Bide your time. Madrid are an aging team. Eden Hazard, Marcelo, these sort of players are going to be on their way.
Marcelo leaving in the summer.
Exactly. Camavinga's probably on a decent wage. He's going to get into the team. Once he starts becoming a first 11 player, when Modric moves out, he'll definitely get a new contract, probably on double the wage he's on now. So for me, no legs on this one as a Liverpool signing, not anywhere near.
And it's funny you say that, because if he's looking for increased playing time and you're a CDM, because that's what he is, he's a CDM. Yeah. Coming to Liverpool puts you behind arguably the best CDM in world football at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Casemiro is a fantastic CDM also. I'm not going to put dirt on Casemiro's name because he's absolutely sensational too. But who starts for Brazil?
Yeah.
Who start in his present time at the moment? Who starts for Brazil?
He's just.
Fabinho.
I mean, it's been Casemiro for ages, but like you say, Fabinho's just starting to edge him now, isn't it?
Edge him out again, and that's what I'm saying. So if you're sat here going, I want more playing time, and that's the motivation behind your move, how the hell do you think you're going to displace Fabinho? But the other tact on this is he's 19, Fabinho's 29. So our FSG looking at this going, £46 million, for a player that could potentially solidify and guarantee our midfield for the next 10 years. Sounds like something that we're into here. Do you know what I mean? It does stink of, in terms of profile and age of player, it does stink of an FSG signing. But the motivation behind the move from the player doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's a sideways one, isn't it? You don't go from a backup to a backup, do you? You go to a team like Man United who don't have a CDM at the club that's of any decent form, and that's where you go if you want game time. So I think realistically you want the left-hand side of midfield in that midfield three at Liverpool sorted before you start having backups for what you already have.
Why? We've got Thiago.
25% of games, yes. There's another 75% that he doesn't feature in. But no, we've got Elliott, we've got Jones.
I've got me a whopper.
A bit. But yeah, I like you say, in terms of what I said again with Nkunku, we need a squad to compete with Man City. If Fabinho is missing, We don't have a CDM. Henderson can play there, but he's not a Hoover. So
But
we
there's
do
better-
need players. We do need backup players in these positions. But at the minute, I'm looking at our 11, and I think we could improve the 11 before we improve the squad.
But there's two tacks to it, because are the 11 so drained of energy because they're playing so many games that you could improve the backups, that it takes the pressure off the 11, which means that we're going to be better, because our 11 is up there with Manchester City's 11, probably better than Manchester City's 11. I'm saying it. I don't care who heard it. Our 11 is absolutely fucking fantastic. Player for player, we're up there with them, if not better. It's when we get into the backup players that I feel we struggle. If Thiago is missing, who slots in there? There isn't. You haven't got a player in there which you would think he's nailed on. He's waiting. He's waiting for Thiago to slip. He's pushing Thiago. No, there isn't anyone there. We've got Robbo, who is fucking nailed on. Yeah, we've got Robbo that's nailed on, right? In terms of starting, but you got Tsimikas pushing him. Yeah, obviously there's no competition for Trent because nobody fucking wants it. Yeah, let's be honest. Nobody wants to come in and try and displace the best right back in world football. Plus, he's a Scouser. It's going to be a very, very difficult task. You've got Konate who's pushing Matip for that starting berth. Yeah, the drop in quality from Alisson to Kelleher is still quite big, but Caoimhin Kelleher is good enough to play in the Premier League against certain opposition, so we're okay there.
Yeah, goalie's different, isn't it? Because it's
goalie's very different
position. Yeah.
Exactly. But when you're looking at the rest of the park, there is no real able deputies, which means the drop in quality isn't so freaking steep. It's so steep. Do you know what I mean? Look, this is a great comment. This is a great comment here. Yeah, he does. I understand that, and I totally appreciate that. But for me, if De Bruyne is missing, you bring on Gundogan. The drop in quality isn't huge, Or you bring in Bernardo Silva. The drop in quality isn't huge. If for example Rodri can't play, Fernandinho comes in. The drop in quality isn't huge, Whereas if Fabinho's playing, we put Henderson in as a makeshift. That's not his position. But if you move in Henderson, you're forced to play Milner. You're forced to play Ox. You're forced to play Naby. The drop in quality is steep. So for Camavinga, who's being rumoured at £46 million, is he better than Dennis Zakaria? No, he's not. He's not better than Zakaria. They're on the same level in terms of players. From what I've seen of Camavinga previously and what I've seen of Zakaria, they're on the same level of player. Why would FSG go out and spend £46 million on a backup when they could spend £7 million on exactly the same player in Zakaria? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, you have to get your, horrible strictness out. If you look at this Liverpool 11, there are positions where the current player in that position should become the backup because you sign a better starting 11 player in that position. So that third midfielder, a striker, could we get a better player in those positions that become the first 11? And the likes of Firmino, Thiago, whoever that position falls to, they are the backup players, because as good as Thiago is, you can't rely on him to play 38 matches a season. He's never done that for anybody. So he's great when he comes in for 20 games a season, but he's not a first 11 player because he's not available enough. So he would become someone that I would use here or there, or move out altogether with the wages on, stealing a living, in my opinion. But there are players and positions, like you mentioned, the Trent one, where Tottenham had it with Harry Kane for years. Oh, we need a striker because Kane is out for 2-3 months a season. Between January and March, we have no Kane every season, and our season falls off a cliff. But no striker of any quality will come in because he's the homegrown guy, he's the captain. I'm not going to go there and literally play 0 minutes. Kane plays 90 minutes every week. Trent's not going to become a backup player. So there are positions where, like you say, you can get Tsimikas in because Robertson was going to play 75% of all the games in this season. But, you're in this position where it's Man City versus Liverpool. Can you have players on the bench that are on 150, 200 grand a week? If it's a yes, you can compete with Man City. If it's a no, you can't.
So I understand this, and just heading on to the Thiago point, this is the factor. And this is what I've been saying all along. We know what we've got with Thiago. It's never been a secret how many games that he puts together.
Yeah.
In the Premier, in any league, he's never played more than 25, 28 games max, and that's in all fucking competitions. Yeah, that's what he gives you. So Harvey Elliott, I feel and again, you and I went to that first game of the season. When we saw the team sheet, we were like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah, Elliott from the start.
Elliott from the start, but he came in and he absolutely killed it. So I do feel that third midfielder between Elliott, between Curtis Jones, one of those guys need to take that ball by the horns, take it by the scruff of the neck, and fucking own it. Own it. Own it. And I feel that Harvey Elliott was owning it until that horrific injury.
Yeah.
So one of those guys need to own it. Thiago comes in and plays the big games. I'm talking the games of huge magnitude. Yeah, because or to be fair, he could come in and pass a team to absolute death. But I also like this. I love that. I absolutely love that, because I got shot down on Twitter very recently for back, and I didn't make the comment. I just merely floated the argument that players should not be immune from criticism. Don't care who the hell you are. This is Liverpool Football Club. You should not be immune from criticism. And while we're here, Henderson's performances of late have not been at his own lofty standards. Our players have been so good over a number of years, you can only judge them by their own lofty standards. They've been clear of most people in the league. So when supporters come out and potentially level any form of criticism at a player like Jordan Henderson, whose club captain has done so much for Liverpool Football Club, a lot of supporters meet it with animosity. We're merely saying, and I didn't make these comments, but I will stand and defend them. We are merely saying that he could be doing better because we're so used to the level of performance that he's put in. But I'll also say on another end, he's fucking tired. He's tired.
Well,
he's fought with Robbo. He's tired.
Coming into that bracket though, isn't he? You can't play forever. You know, he's been here 10 years.
Yes.
We've had his whole career, basically, his whole senior career at Liverpool. 2 years' time, you know, he's 32. Thiago be 32. You know, Elliott.
You can't play at that level forever.
No, you can't. It's impossible. So at some point, like we've said since the day one of this channel, Liverpool 2.0 is an inevitability. It has to at some point happen. You know, there are certain players that will be moving on quicker than others. Some you'll keep the likes of Van Dijk, Alisson, and Salah. I would imagine play well into their mid-30s in this team. But you are going to have to at some point make a change. Otherwise, you become AC Milan of the mid-noughties. Every single player in your 11 turns 37 on the same day, and you're screwed because they all retire. And guess what? Your youth team isn't as good as the current champions of Europe. So you have to adapt. You have to change. And at some point, you have to replace a 30-year-old with a 19-year-old. You have to go and say, do you know what? When Fabinho turns 33, we have to go and get a CDM. You look at Chelsea, N'Golo Kante, he's fantastic, but he's not going to play at this level forever. And he's already started to miss way more games than he used to. He used to be a Duracell bunny, didn't he, for Leicester and Chelsea, won back-to-back leagues. He struggled with fitness. He struggled with form. He looks like he's back to somewhere near it now, but eventually you have to move on. As sentimental as you can be, which is a massive word in the Liverpool department.
Yes.
You know, we love our players. We build statues of them. You know, we put them up on pedestals. You know, they are absolute legends of this game, and they'll be welcomed back to this club for the rest of the time.
Yeah, forevermore.
Absolutely, but at the same time, you need to look at this current 11 and say, you know, other than Trent, other than one or two here or there, they've all been here a while. They're all going to start to turn 30. So at some point, you do have to say, do you know what? We need to spend money. We need to bring in not just promoting from the youth, because you can't just use that as an excuse. We've promoted Jones, Trent, Elliott. Yeah, it's been great. You're lucky that you've had some good players come through the youth, but you have to marry that up with spending some serious cash as well on players that are around, you know, the Jota, the 22, 23, 24 mark that are already there, ready to come straight into that 11 and replace someone that's just about to go over the hill.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. We were lucky with Jota, I feel. I don't think we would have saw his trajectory go as sharp as it has. So we've been very, very lucky with Jota. But what it has done is it's created a very, very good problem in that forward line. I think it's highlighted some of the cracks which we've got in the forward line, and he started to push some of those players as well. And I feel that that's where we need to go in terms of the midfield. That's where we need to go in terms of maybe that right-hand side, or adding an extra bit of quality to that forward line as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see how the remainder of this window plays out, and also how the summer window plays out also. And I'll leave you guys with this just as we close.
Yeah.
I've had a theory, and I've had this theory for a long time. I feel that FSG sign their players in the January under the cover of darkness, very cloak and dagger, very, very, very shrewd in terms of what they do. And then they come in the summer. Klopp isn't a fan of just throwing people in. We've seen Andy Robertson was given time to bed in. We've seen that Tsimikas was given time to bed in. We've seen that Konate's, being given time. Jota, being given time to bed in. He doesn't just let these players loose.
But he's also happy to wait for that one player he really, really wants as well, isn't he?
Exactly. He's very, he's happy to bide his time. If he wants you, he will just wait. Yeah, there's no, it's kind of like don't worry, it'll all be cool. We'll get him and it'll all be good in the hood. We're not gonna compromise on what we want. So I think he's got his eye on 2 targets for the summer. And again, and I don't want to poo-poo our Transfer Tuesday shows for January, because I do believe these targets will be discussed in this January transfer window. And I do believe these targets will be signed in this January transfer window. But I feel that these players will not enter the club until the summer. We may have already signed his 2 targets that he wants. Yeah, and they won't be entering the club until the summer. It's my belief it will be a central midfielder. And it's also my belief it will be a right-sided forward. The list of players, and that's all we've been discussing in these Transfer Tuesday shows, it's always been central midfielders, and it's always been right-sided forwards. Bowen, Rafinha, Diaz can play on the right-hand side. We then go into the midfielders, and Nkunku as well. We then go into the midfielders, Zakaria, Tielemans have been spoken about, Phillips, Bellingham. It seems like it's all been centered around those 2 positions. So my theory is we sign in January, they enter the club in the summer, but I don't think that you get anything revealed. And only the dinner ladies look, LJ, big shout to you, my man. Basuma as well. Kesey, players that are in those positions we're being linked with. I just think that the business gets done very cloak and dagger under the cover of darkness, and it gets revealed in the summer. And we're all sat here like we did last January going, just give us a fucking centre-back. We just want one centre-back. Just give us a centre-back.
That was it, wasn't it? They probably said in January of last year to Klopp, if you spend anything more than £1 million or whatever on a centre-back now,
you went having Konate.
You went having Konate in the summer. And he was like, oh, okay, I'll have Phillips and I'll have Davies and I'll have Kabak and I'll wait for Konate because that's the one I want long term.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because you almost saw, and this is what brings me to it, because you almost saw it in his interviews. Like, he was gagging to turn around and say, like, fuck off, I've got someone. Do you know what I mean? It was almost in that, he was in his, to basically
just
say,
not for now.
Literally, he almost wanted to turn around and say, you fuckers, I'm about to give you the beast. I'm about to give you the heir to Virgil van Dijk, and you want to fuck with me? That's what he basically saying.
Like you say, he looked at it and thought, I'm Jurgen Klopp, I'll have Phillips, I'll have Williams, I'll have Kabak and not play Davies, and I'll make it happen.
I'll make it happen. Exactly. This is it. He sat there and went, guys, I'm a fucking G. We will play Champions League. Yeah. Do not panic, guys. I'll do it with Phillips, Kabak. I'll do it with Williams, and then we'll get Matey Boy out of the basement whenever we want as well. I'll do it. Do you know what I mean? So I think these signings are done, dusted, and they're going to be coming in the January. So guys, quickly before we close, you throw up for me your midfielder and your right-sided player or forward player who you think will be coming into the club at some point. I want 2 names.
Right.
Ali A's already beat you to it. I think it's Luis Diaz and Basuma. Not a bad shout as well. Naby firing off AFCONs. Yeah, I know, but I hope he's firing his way onto a plane somewhere and never coming back, if I'm being honest, because I'm sick to death. But yeah. Nah. I just want to see that. I want to hear that. I want to hear. Could you imagine that coming from the cop? Oh,
it's already there in the songbook, isn't it?
It's written, isn't it? It's written. Could you actually imagine that coming from the cop? That would be unreal. Forget Brentford trying to nick it. Forget that. But imagine if the cop was singing that. Oh, mate. Yeah.
It's an interesting one. I like that.
I do. That is a very interesting one. That is a very, very interesting one.
Affordable as well. That's maybe a 50 mil combined, that one. That's not bad. That's right up FSG Street, that one.
I think the Basuma one is interesting because it looks like Stevie's trying to steal a march on that one.
Yeah.
So I maybe Basuma. I think Villa would be very suited to Basuma. I think it'd be the right move for him.
You look at Brighton; they took 50 mil to get White out of that club. They're going to want that again, at least.
Yeah, but Brighton, Villa are not scared of spending the dough. They got Chinese owners, bro.
Oh, definitely.
They'll spend. This is a plaything for him, and he's come out very openly and gone, "No, I'm backing my manager." He's come out and said, "I'll back my manager. If my manager wants something, I'll back it." And if he can go, you're smoking, sunshine. Cucurella or Brighton?
Oh,
yeah, he's not for me. But never mind.
I would go if I've got to do my two. I
think we get 4. Gee, 4.
God,
that's a lot.
Would be nice,
isn't it? Yeah.
I think I've always, who my midfielder is. I've wanted Tielemans for about 12 months, if not more. I like Bellingham, but
you just think it's unattainable right now.
Can he do it in the Prem? And he's going to cost, not £100 million, and they're losing Haaland already, so they're going to be wanting some serious cash to let another prized asset go in the same summer. I think that's maybe one for maybe next year or the year after that. So Tielemans, Leicester aren't going anywhere; they're going backwards. He's had enough of that. He wants to play Champions League football. I'm pretty sure he has a deal in his contract where he can go to a Champions League club for not quite as much when he reaches.
If Leicester don't get Champions League as well,
I think he only has a year left on his deal from this summer. Do you lose him for free in 12 months, or the Leicester model is sell him on big and replace them with someone you've not heard of who in 2 years' time becomes just as good? So he is an attainable one, and I think Rafinha, if you're going to pick a right winger, so Rafinha and Tielemans, both from the Premier League, would be fantastic because there's zero risk because they're already doing it in the same league.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I think about attainable and what is achievable in the here and now, I think there's some players which we can sign, but we can't sign them right now, and I think they fit within the Liverpool mold of what we're looking for. But in the here and now, Tielemans, in the here and now, Rafinha, and if we are stretching it out to a bit later, I think Calvin Phillips is attainable because if Leeds drop, I think he's very attainable. And I also think that Jude Bellingham, not this season, maybe next year, is attainable as well because Dortmund have this buy to sell method that they use. And it works. They will go and sign a player for very, very cheap and profit on that player tenfold. So I do think that Jude Bellingham will be on the move at some point, and I do think that Liverpool will be at the forefront competing for his signature. It just depends on where we are at that point as a club and whether an able-bodied player has come through the academy, because there is huge emphasis on the academy producing now. You've got a Tyler Morton coming through the academy at the moment. Would they go and get a Bellingham to stunt that player's growth? It's a very FSG kind of conundrum.
I mean, you see Milner going out. He plays games. I don't care how good you think he is. If he should be playing at 36 years of age, he plays. He's played consistently every season since he's been here and has continued to play.
20-year career.
Yeah, so if Milner leaves, whatever you think of him, there's matches that aren't being picked up by somebody else. So another midfielder has to come in. Yes, we've been unlucky with Elliott this season. You wouldn't expect him to miss quite as much as next season, so he could replace Milner. But Thiago's not going to suddenly play double games. Henderson's going to
No.
start playing less.
No,
So
I agree.
the midfielder for Milner makes sense. Someone that can come in right now that isn't going to absolutely break the bank, because even if Bellingham does transfer this summer, that's triple figures or very, very close to. Tielemans is probably going to be around half that with a year left on his deal. That's the more attainable one for me. In that kind of age bracket as well that we were talking about earlier, in the mid-20s, ready to go straight into that first 11. And if no one else is going to grab that Genie shirt, then let Tielemans have a go. So I think for me that's the one.
The Genie shirt isn't there because it's currently being held by Thiago, regardless of what you think of him. Yeah, I appreciate, and I really want to put
man wearing it.
I really want to put this one to bed, because regardless of what we think of Thiago and his availability, Liverpool are playing better football with Thiago in the squad. I agree that Genie's availability was such an asset because he was able to put back-to-back games together over a sustained period of time. We're talking multiple seasons. That in its own is a feat in itself. But if we wanted to evolve the way that we're playing, and I think we needed to, because like we've indicated, our players are getting older. We need more ball. We can't keep running and chasing down people for 90 minutes consecutively 3 times a week and not really changing that 11, because we haven't really changed the 11. Are we seeing a drop off slightly in Henderson because he's fucking tired? As I said earlier on, this all alludes to it. But when Thiago is fit, available on the pitch, he controls a tempo of game, which gives us more ball. Elliott can do it. Jones can do it. So I feel we are moving that direction. So can we please leave Gini Wijnaldum in the mud at PSG? Because respectfully, regardless of what we think of him, he's in the mud now because PSG don't play him. He was a player which was suited to our system. 100%. There's no other club that plays the way that we play. So we found it. Coutinho's another left, was out of sorts in another system. Klopp is so good at taking players and fitting them into a system and making them fucking superstars. So I don't care if we go and get the dinner lady from the training ground and give her a shirt, because I know Klopp will make her a world beater. So guys, that brings us to the end of an extended Transfer Tuesday show. Yeah, thank you for joining us on this epic episode. The countdown begins. We have got one more after this before the epic deadline day show. So make sure you are joining us on deadline day for an extended show. We will have multiple people passing through like we did last deadline day. If you didn't see that, it's going to be in the videos on the YouTube. If you are subscribing, if you are liking, you can head over and see that, because that deadline day show went off the hook.
Yeah, it's in the playlist, so easy to find. Go to Transfer Tuesdays in the playlist. It's right there.
Yep. So, guys, we'll be back next week for your Transfer Tuesday show. Thank you for joining me, Thiago's father, and my co-host and co-owner in Southern Scouser. We are over and we are out.